If you are starting with Scrum, or you need to understand the basic of Scrum, or you are working with Scrum from many times and still don't understand basic principles, this presentation is for you. So we are going to be watch in action the very basic elements of the Scrum. I create this novel to represent how it looks like a basic Scrum process from above. This is a simulation that I really like to do with my students, and I'm here to share it. So let's go, keep it short. I'm going to share the screen in the past. So now I created this novel to make a representation and to make a quick review of it, because sometimes the simulation takes a long time. So this way, with the simulation, it's gonna take a shorter time. We can review it. I will try to make it in 20 minutes. Let's do it. So this is intended for PSM1 level, and this is Daniel Shaylan for Cora Child, and of course that is KI, as you can see here. Thanks Gemini for that. So let's do it. First of all, the challenge here is to have a creative process similar to software development, but this is not a software development team. But this team is going to create a product, a book. There will be many writers writing the same book. I use this metaphor, and I choose personally this metaphor to represent the software development process because it's quite similar. The software development process is like many people writing the same book and contributing words and lines to the same book. And at the end, we need to have one common product that is coherent and high quality, mixing all the writing from all these people. So this is a metaphor. All this team is going to be writing this novel book here in the middle. And of course, we have one product owner. In this case, me or you are the Scrum Masters. And we have some stakeholders represented by Mark. And we have a customer proxy, Alex. So the customer proxy is a librarian, an enthusiast representing the reader's perspective. It's someone that has the readers, the buyers mentality. And this is very, very important, because if we don't have proximity with customer, there is no agility, there is no Scrum. We are just doing bloody meetings without a purpose. We are just managing work. We're not doing agile. So let's move forward. This is a team. It's a cross-functional team. Each person has different capabilities. So we have Leo, the plot architect, Maya, the structure specialist, and so on and so on. So this cross-functional team is totally powerful. And then they will start the project. The very first step for a new project is to define the vision. And in this case, Clara, the product owner, will present the vision to the team, saying that, okay, our vision is to create write a crime fiction novel that hits the New York Times bestseller list. So it's a very ambitious goal. So it's called the silent witness. Then we have the intervention from the stakeholder saying that, okay, we have 6 months to have this in the market. So there is a natural organic deadline in the market. This is a typical challenge for many Scrum teams. This is a real deadline, by the way. It's a valuable deadline. Good. Then Alex, the customer proxy, says, I want a clever mystery I can't solve until the end. Here we have the value perspective. So when we talk about values in Scrum, the customer product value, I want a clever mystery I can't solve until the end. Most bestsellers feels rushes lately. I can solve until the end. So this is a very huge value for the product customers relation. Okay, then once the vision is established and agreed, the Scrum Master intervenes and say, okay, this is the goal. We need to have a done increment every sprint. So let's define what done means. This is a Scrum Master job. And this is a Scrum Master mission in the place to establish empiricism and to establish the Scrum framework for the process. So let's focus on. That's why Scrum is based on a definition of done. One of the strugglings before Scrum in the software crisis was to have something done, something finished, something complete. It was a constant struggling in the past, also in the present, for those who are not doing well Scrum. That's why Scrum is based on one definition of done. And definition of done, they all together establish what means done. When we can consider an element finished for production for the customer. It's not a definition of finished. And normally a product, mostly a web page, is never finished. But they don't want just drafts. They don't want to deliver drafts. They want something coherent, completely understandable storyline, and is proofread and is coherent. This is very important. So, and each developer contributes with their perspective. And Leo said the plot points in that chapter have to logically connect to the overall outline. Of course, we need to have a coherence along the entire story. And all facts, locations, and must be connected with reality. It's not a science fiction novel. It's a crime novel. So it needs to feel realistic. So this is how it looks like, the definition of done for this team. Take a look on that. And we are based on the IB's contribution. It cannot be just a draft. So it's empowerment for developers to finish, to complete their work. That's why it should not be dependent on the product owner or any to the developers to be able to finish the work. When any element worked by the developers meets this list of done, this checklist of the definition of done, the element is considered done, and there is no more discussions about it. So then the product owner, in conjunction with the developers, they build the first product backlog. The product backlog content can be written by developers as well, together with the product owner. But the product owner is the last word on sorting and prioritizing the elements. The product owner prioritizing decision is a strategic decision. The product owner is a strategic role. That's why the product owner needs to work absolutely independent. No one from outside the Scrum team can tell the product owner how to sort the backlog, and no one can tell the developers how to create the product they increment. No one should tell the Scrum Master how to run Scrum as well. So that's why Scrum team is an absolutely empowered team. It's a total powerful team. This is how the product backlog looks like at the end, but this is Of course, this is sorted by creation, no, from 1 to 9 in order of creation, but this is not the order of priority. Later on is ordered by priority or by value delivery. The value is measured on how much impact it has on the customer, and then the product owner prioritizes this. The idea is that the first element that we finish provide us an advantage or a gain from the business perspective. That's why the prioritization is very strategic decision. So you can take a screenshot and read later or make a pause in the video. Write down in the comments if you disagree with something or you want to know more details about this. And now, to keep it short, I want to move forward. Then they start with the first sprint. One principle of the Scrum is that Scrum is unstoppable. Once it's started, it never stops. It's one sprint after another sprint until the product don't exist anymore. So, laying the foundation. So the first sprint. Each sprint has a sprint goal. In this case, it's establishing core chapters and opening SEN. The opening SEN is necessary for the marketing purpose. So this need to be delivered as early as possible for the business side. They meet every day 15 minutes to resynchronize and identify blockers and impediments and problems. And Leo shares that he's struggling with some coherence and connections between characters, and he needs the detective character more deeply defined. Otherwise, he cannot move forward. And at the end of this sprint, there is a review meeting. And in the review, they got some feedback from the stakeholder that's still not convinced about the setup and the story. It's not different from many other stories. And in the retrospective, the team feels good about their collaboration. They realized that the research PBI was too big and should be broken into smaller pieces. Then they prepare better for the sprint 2. In the sprint 2, the sprint goal is to create a complete plot, outline, and write the next chapter, as Leo pointed out. They choose a new stock of product backlog items from the product backlog and start working on that. Suddenly, in the middle of sprint 2, something changed in the market. There is a new movie release, and they are using exactly the same motto that we were using in the book. So then we are not going to be originals, and then that's why we are losing the entire value. Then we have a conflict. What do? We continue the plan as established by the developers, or we change the plan according to the market? What do we do? The Scrum team is totally smart and intelligent to make this decision. That's why the product owner is part of the team. Then the product owner presents the conflict, and here the Scrum Master plays a very relevant role in the sense that the Scrum Master facilitates the discussion and reminds the focus on the sprint goal. Yes, we can change the plan without losing focus on the sprint goal. It's not a problem. And we can adapt and make the necessary changes. Because the risk is too big and the full value of the book can be gone if the market thinks we are not original. And the point from the product owner is correct. Well, the team collaborates and they find a way out of the issue. In this point, they have another review and retrospective, and the they are really happy that they could avoid the cliche. Um, but the customers is still not really convinced, but at least they move out from the risk area. The team has a strong concern is about so many changes in the plan. If we are changing the plan all the time, it's chaotic and it's not going to be sustainable. But they move forward. Sprint 3, next sprint, they took another bunch of product backlog items and define the sprint goal. The sprint 3, there's not so much news. Everything works fine. And they feel good with the new approach. Nothing, no, not much more to say. Then comes the sprint 4. And now the sprint goal is to deepen the characters, as we need to make coherent the entire product in order to have a really impactful product, a relevant product in the market. That's the mission of the product owner. In this sprint, Maya focus a lot on designing the detective character, and that could be really a differentiator in the market for the product, and that was really relevant in this sprint. As well, this was a new PBI, the PBI 10, and it was reprioritized in the backlog in the middle of the ongoing product. But there is a problem between Maya and Sarah. They have a huge disagreement on how the detective should act during the stakeout. Maya wants it more introspective, and Sarah wants it to be tense and action oriented. So in this way, they are not uh, aligned on how to do it. This is why we have a Scrum Master in the Scrum team, and the Scrum Master facilitates the debates in a way that to create solution with the coaching stance, with the facilitation stance, to for these developers to combine in one idea. The idea is not that one idea defeats the other, is that we establish collective intelligence. It's not about competing, it's about creating superlative ideas by mixing our different ideas. The collective intelligence is one of the goals of Scrum. At the end, they are able to unblock the situation, but some tensions are still present in the team. So for one side, the new detective character is very interesting for Alex, and the team celebrates that they could have a healthy conflict. Actually, this is a very interesting point because to have a healthy conflict is a very sign of a mature Scrum team, and also to not have any conflict is a very bad sign. It's a sign that there could be no commitment, there could be maybe no challenges, that we are not uh, searching for the new path. We are working with the known, not we are not walking to the unknown. A lot of bad signs or poor signs that we are not doing our best in this Scrum team. That's why to drive healthy conflicts is one of the targets for a good Scrum Master and a good Scrum. A big, mature sign. Now comes the sprint 5. They take another stack from the product backlog items, and the sprint goal is to set up the final alt list. So, but suddenly everything was fine. But suddenly there was a stakeholder interrupting the team, showing in the daily when the team was in the daily. This is very interesting. How should a high-value Scrum Master intervenes in this situation? So the Scrum Master intervention is important here to navigate the emotion from the stakeholder. Especially, this is why a Scrum Master needs emotional intelligence. And we are not there to moderate him. In front of one emotion breakout, when some emotion is taking control of the situation, it's important to not use moderation, to not talk about rules or to just to put things on rails because we are the sheriff. No, that's a very bad idea. But we need to listen to this person, what he's saying, and to drive the emotion into a healthy way and productive way for the product. And this is a very big distinction. This is what makes the difference between basic Scrum Masters and the high-class Scrum Masters, between process Scrum Masters and the Scrum Masters that can help a company to produce millions of euros. And this is a big difference. So the listening skill is a key element, listening. But this is not only for Scrum Masters, of course. A Scrum Master is not the only one coaches there. The product owner is also a coach. And the leadership needs also coaching skills because the listening is mostly what is missing usually in the workspaces. And so then the Scrum Master simply deviates the attention from the stakeholder to a different place, but also give the stakeholder the opportunity to express his idea and feelings and to convert those into a learning opportunity or decision opportunity. That's why it's important to not be just a process driver. Every emotion asks for an action. So to repress an emotion is not a good approach. It's not only not a good approach, it's dangerous because we are losing an opportunity for learning something important. And we need to validate the ideas behind the emotion. With the emotion, we can do nothing, but we need to navigate it until it gets off. And then we keep the ideas behind the emotion, and the ideas are the relevant part. So the marketing team needs the final chapter titles now. So this is an urgency. Of course, that's why he's nervous. So we can see here a very strong emotional manifestation. To design the core art, we can't wait. We can't wait for the end of the sprint. So obviously, this stakeholder don't understand how to interact with the Scrum team, but we cannot be mad with him. We need just to explain, and we need to attend what he's bringing on. This adaptability is key. So then the Scrum Master deviates the attention so the team can proceed with daily. But the concern is not dismissed. The concern is taken and deviated to the product owner. And here we can see how the Scrum Master and product owner collaborate on handling the situation. Here we can see that Scrum Master and product owner are real partners. So the team is grateful and they move forward. Of course, they have very good sprint review. The team relation and trust is building. The trust with the stakeholders also is growing. And everything flows now because we have a good Scrum Master and we have a good product owner. And Scrum is set up properly to deal with complexity. At the end, it was a was a happy story. The good thing is that the team was able to be collectively intelligent, and this is the magic of Scrum. Scrum is not about having meetings, it's not about facilitating or writing user stories. Scrum is about how to work together towards one product goal with the customer, with the stakeholders, and to be adaptive to changing conditions outside and inside the team. So this is a different. This is a real Scrum game. Honestly speaking, I didn't see that many times in the workspaces. Um, at least in my experience, the majority of times I've seen people watching a process to manage work, not to maximize value. And this is the learning from. This is why this simulator is intended to educate people that are starting with the Scrum to be as much effective as possible as early as possible. So it don't takes you years to become effective with the Scrum, but you can be Scrum effective in weeks or months. I have a game to play this, not only this story. I have also a game to play this simulation. And it was really interesting. There is another video in the channel where we play the simulation for 2 hours. This is the resume part, but the most important part to take here is not that we have a successful product, we have a successful team, but also that to be acquainted that Scrum is a learning process. We are managing learning. We are learning every sprint, every day, every release. We are learning. Scrum is a learning system. The Scrum team is a constantly learning system. An organization that uses Scrum is also a learning system. So I hope you like it, may be useful for you. Drop in the comment if you have any questions, or if you want to see some specific details on the next video. So leave me your comments. What did you like? What you didn't like from this story, from this simulation? And of course, as a final learning, we can understand that we are dealing with complexity. That's why Scrum and Agile was invented at the beginning. And many people forget that and just use Scrum and Agile as a management tool. It's a tactic for complexity. We want to have healthy conflicts that we make us smarter as a team, smarter as a company. And we want to build trust from above and beyond, from any direction. So I hope that was helpful for you. So this was Daniel Shailan for Core Agile. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this video was useful for you. That helps me to help more people. Happy Scrum. Enjoy your conflicts, and I'm here at your service for any question you have, and the truth will make you free.